Hello, folks. Let's see. I just wanted to give a little political commentary. My last video, or a video or two ago, I announced my candidacy as, for the presidency of the U.S. and, as basically an independent or third party or whatever I can get going, because I don't think we can depend on the Democratic primary or the Republican primary to give us good results. I mean, I support RFK Jr. To be the Democratic nominee, and I'm actually, I'm creating a new group for our county, like Santa Cruz, for RFK Jr. And so, we can be kind of the focal point of that. Got some posters and stuff to print out, and I figure we might as well start now supporting him, since he's already in the news. He's already on CNN. But to bet it all on him is stupid. Not anything about him, but just about the Democratic Party, like the Democratic primary. We already know that they are legally allowed to rig it, and they do every time. The courts agreed with them that they have the legal right, because they're a private organization, so they can, DNC can really just choose the candidate if they want. They're just letting us vote, I guess, as a favor, but they don't have to honor the results of the vote, because they're a private organization. It's not like a actual governmental election. It's folly to bet it all on that, although I certainly am going to be promoting RFK, in the hopes that he could win and be a better candidate than anybody else up there. And also to get the word out, that he's going to be red pilling people, just like Bernie was during his campaigns. So our group is called Santa Cruz for RFK Jr. And so we haven't really done anything yet, but we just have the name, and I'm not even on Facebook. I want to create if I was on Facebook, I could at least create a Facebook group or something, or if I was on Twitter, I could create a Twitter account for it, but I'm like perma-banned and like IP blacklisted by them. So what can you do? I'm promoting him on Getter. But yeah, I'm also running, in terms of if he doesn't get nominated, and even if he does get nominated, I always present myself, right? Like if America, or if the United States wants like real freedom, not just like a little more freedom, but like real freedom, real justice, then I'm here to like try to offer that. I mean, like, he would reorganize the CIA. I would probably just abolish the CIA. I mean, I'm not saying, I don't know what substantively the difference would be. That might sound more rhetorical, but, he's definitely trying to carve out a certain type of middle path that's going to please everybody, including that's even going to appease the establishment people to some extent, whereas I certainly am not even trying to appease them at all. But anyway, so far so good for his campaign. I guess he's at 19 or maybe more, according to some. And he's of course, for a lot of the sheeple that don't really pay attention to like issues, they pay attention to names, and so the Kennedy name, it's got to be like, they have to be at least confused if they're like, okay, the media tells me this guy sucks, but he's also RFK's son, JFK's nephew, and I'm supposed to worship Kennedys. It's like, what do I do? So, I mean, I think the Kennedy name will help. I mean, honestly, even with the Republicans, even though in theory they should not have any loyalty to Kennedys because they're Republicans, but they do, because most of them didn't used to be Republicans. If you look at a map of the places that are now Republican, those are the places that used to be Democrat. And the places that supported RFK's father, RFK Sr., like, I'm pretty sure he won West Virginia. So he won a lot of the kind of middle American demographic. And so there's a lot of loyalty to, to the Kennedys. And to win West Virginia is important too, because West Virginia was traditionally Republican. It was just like East Tennessee. It was a U.S. Stronghold during the Civil War, so they were Lincoln Republicans largely. But eventually the Kennedys won them over to the Democrats, and then I don't know who, like Nixon coaxed them to the Republicans again. But they voted for, West Virginia voted for Bernie Sanders too. I think in at least one of the two times, like Bernie won West Virginia in either 2016 or 2020 or both. And I think the state party operatives had to rig it or something, or dilute the outcome. So, what else is going on? We have our local freedom group in Santa Cruz called Brave and Free. So we're moving forward with that. Like, I do tabling every Wednesday at the Santa Cruz Farmers Market, and just try to red pill all the normies with information about, we have like on the table, I'll have like information about COVID, information about the vaccines. But I usually don't lead with that. Like, everybody that passes by, I'll try to give them some flyer or something, but it's usually something a little more, innocuous or whatever, just as a like gateway drug to get them to like come over and talk to me, and just at least learn something about civil liberties issues. So that's been pretty good. It's like, it's kind of I feel like it's the most community event in this county. Especially now that the flea market is gone. It's really there's no other thing like it, I feel like, where so many people all come to the same place at the same time once a week. So, it was something like, I was into the farmers market when I first lived here, like in 95, because it just seemed really trippy. Like, there was all these cool hippies and drum circles and like, incense and stuff. And like, I was like, whoa, this is interesting. It was like the kind of heart of the kind of granola side of Santa Cruz. So, there's a lot of shit libs there, of course. And like any time when you do leafleting, like most people just ignore you. But has definitely some good reception by a lot of people, and pretty minimal haters, pretty minimal hecklers. They'll always just they'll just mutter some little, what they think is a burn, and then they'll just scamper away really quickly, like so pleased with themselves before I can reply. So they're just entertaining for the most part. Although they did try to get me kicked out of the farmer's market, but it didn't work because, even the farmer's market itself, they were trying to go along with it and trying to, bully me. But then it was so obvious that my hecklers were like much worse than me, like we were getting heckled, I was getting heckled, and I was just trying to be polite to people. So they're like, oh fuck, we can't kick this guy out. He's actually like the victim of all this heckling. So yeah, I'll I don't expect my campaign to go anywhere because, I mean, it's like I'm so shadow banned off everything that I can't even effectively use social media or anything. I'm off Twitter, I'm off Facebook, and I'm sure I'm shadow banned on YouTube. So most people can't see my content. But like I say, like if anybody wants to support somebody who believes in freedom, actually not just as a kind of a tendency, but as a thoroughgoing principle, to the point that, I'm basically a full-on libertarian in every way, or what we used to call liberal. And I'm also a full socialist in the sense that I do believe that the government should help poor people or not exist. And I know that there's a whole demographic of Americans who don't want the government to do anything for poor people. I'm not going to pander to that demographic. I want them to fall into the sea. But yeah, so I'm not going to pander like most politicians. I'm just going to be like, fuck you people if you want me to do some bullshit. Like, I'm not going to pander to the forces that destroy our country. So anyway, I believe in I want a Homestead Act. I want to give everybody a home. And I want to abolish or at least scale back taxation as much as possible. I don't believe in taxation. I don't know why the so-called left has become so infatuated with taxation. We didn't used to be. The foundation of the left was actually a revolt against taxation. The foundation of the left, you could say, really was with the British Civil Wars, between the liberals and the conservatives. And the liberals were against being taxed for an endless war of against Scotland to force it to accept the Episcopal religion. And the people of England were like, no, you can't tax us without without representation, because